Greetings, welcome to today's tutorial. Today we'll be talking about Windows 10 Magnifier. Magnifier is a magnification program to help the visually impaired in the Windows 10 environment. To turn on Magnifier, there are a few different ways we can do this. We can use the search option here or the start menu. It should be noted that if you have Windows 10 right out of the box, it may not have the search option enabled. Just click on Start. Start typing the word magnifier in, and you'll notice it pops up right away. The other way to enable magnifier is to hold the Windows key on your keyboard and then hit the plus or minus button on your keyboard. So Windows plus, and you'll see it open up. You'll notice that nothing really happened because I have it set to 100%, which is the default magnification. If I were to set it to 200, and then exit out of the program, and then Windows plus again, you'll notice that when it pops up like so. So Windows minus to make it default. There we are. And you can change the magnification with the plus and minus as well, and you'll see that you have some options here. It actually tells you, if you hover over it, what the quick keys are for these things. This option here and this option here are for dictation, and we'll go over that right now. So I have a pre-written little document here, and if I hit the play button where the cursor is, it will start to read for me.
Jack and Jill went up the hill. Jack slapped Jill while Jack watched her roll down the hill. Jill went to the shed, grabbed her father's shotgun, went back up the hill and shot Jack in the back. The end.
Ooh, bad day for Jack. Okay, there are a few different things you can do with this. If you notice that when I'm up here at the top, where at the first beginning of the sentence, and I hit the play button, and then I use the fast forward button, this will actually skip to the next sentence. And you see there's a couple different page breaks here, period, comma, period. These are breaks, and what'll happen, Windows Magnifier treats these as next lines. So if I hit play,
Jack slapped Jill. Jill went to the shed, went back up the hill and shot Jack in the back. The end.
And that's how that works. So if you're in a big document, you know, 1,000-word essay or something along those lines, you can flip through it pretty quickly using that feature. The other feature here next to it is the read from here option. If I click on this and then click anywhere on my document, the first word, it'll start to read from that word, and it'll continue until I click off.
Shed, grabbed her father's shotgun.
You also notice that when it dictates, it has these little boxes around it to show you where it's at so you can follow along easily. So that's a pretty nice feature too. That way you read words that you want to read without having to start from the beginning of the line to the end of the line and so forth. So when I click on the button and then click on shed, it starts to read shed.
Shed, grabbed her father's shotgun.
And if I click off right away or anywhere else, it'll just stop reading. And that's a nice option. Settings. Okay, to get to the settings, you can either go through the control panel, which is kind of a pain in the butt, or you can just turn on magnifier, or if magnifier is already on, you just hit the settings button, or you can use the Windows key, Control M, and that will also pull up the settings. So we're going to pull up the settings, and the first thing that pops up is this little mini settings window. All this does is controls the speed of the voice and the type of voice that the narrator will use. Go to the actual settings, click on the settings, and we'll go through these settings. In order for magnifier to work, it must be turned on. If you turn this off, everything I just showed you won't work. So yeah, you want to stay away, make sure that it's turned on, and you can see these quick keys. It'll turn it on and turn it off. Change zoom increments. This is the same thing as using the Windows key plus and minus and using the plus and minus buttons above. You can set magnifier to start when you sign in or start for anyone to sign in. I have them shut off because I only use the program sporadically, and I want to have the power to turn that on and off at will rather than have it on when I sign into my computer. You can leave the smooth edges of images and text. That'll help just make things clearer for you. This option here is great. Learn the control, the quick key here, Control-Alt-I for invert. And what invert colors does is exactly what it says it's going to do. When I click on it, you'll see that the white turns to black and the black turns to white, like so. And that's a great option because most of the time that you have documents open, it's going to be a white background with black text. And if you can't see that, this might actually pop out a little better. So you can control that at will. Here is where you can have the different modes. Now, if you know the quick keys for these modes, this makes it even easier. You don't have to go to settings to use this. But you have 3 different modes. You have full screen, which is what we're in. Control-Alt-F, F for full screen. You have docked, Control-Alt-D for docked. And then lens, Control-Alt-L for lens. Full screen is basically lens, but the full screen. Docked is basically just a small portion of your screen that has the lens effect. And we'll turn that on right quick so you can see what it looks like. It takes a second for it to boot up. Okay, so if I set it to 200, you see what I'm talking about here. Now, as I move my mouse, the above part of my screen has the text I'm looking at. So that can be very helpful. And you can adjust this. You can move this, and you can adjust it if you want to. The one that I think is the best is the lens, which is Control-Alt-L, or you can just use the tab down here. Control-Alt-L, and you'll see it's the same thing except for the docked lens now is controllable and moves with your mouse. That is nice. You can also control it here by adjusting these bigger, small, taller or shorter, and then wider or thinner. I have mine 40 by 40, and I seem to like that a lot. So we'll go to Control-Alt-F. That makes it full screen again. Windows minus to set default so we can see what we're doing. Keep the mouse pointer centered on the screen. Keep the text cursor centered on the screen. That's just so you don't lose track of your cursor. Choose how the dictation works. Here, you can choose your modifier. Your modifier key is your master key or key combination to tell Magnifier what to do. You have some choices here. I personally like Control-Alt because I use Control-Alt for everything on a lot of quick keys, so I'm already accustomed to using it. However, you can use Caps Lock, Insert, Caps Lock, or Insert. And that's instead of using Control-Alt as a combination and whatever modifier you need to use, you would use those buttons. Like I said, Control-Alt works really good for me. And you can see what these buttons do. The one that I think is the most important is the modifier key, left mouse click. If I use Control-Alt and then click on Start,
pause, and resume reading, modifier key plus enter, stop reading, any key.
And it'll read from left to right all the way down to the bottom until it sees the letter K, and then it stops. I believe that it stops at paragraph breaks, but it will read, if you have all sentences in one paragraph, it'll just keep going until you stop. Control-Alt, reading, and it stops. Control-Alt,
choose a modifier key.
And it just stops. So it treats these menus as if they were paragraphs, which makes sense. And that is pretty much it for Windows Magnifier. To exit the program, you can just exit out of the program and you're done. I hope this was informative.